morning. Good morning. It is June 7th. It snowed up at the top of the Grand Mesa last night. We had rain. The temperature when I woke up this morning was like 41, but it had gotten down to 37 at this elevation. But up there at 10,000 feet, it definitely got below freezing. We had a really hard, wet, everything's really wet. Stop, put my seatbelt on here. So, I'm gonna briefly say hi on camera. I'm still having the problem with the audio and video being off sync, and it's a pain to extract it and move it. I tried a video yesterday. I actually did a walkabout, talk about video, and I trashed the whole thing. I tried to do it in sections, and every section is off. Some of them like 3 frames, some 1.5 frames between the video and my speech. So I'm not going to do a lot of on-camera stuff, because at least if I'm not facing the camera, it doesn't matter exactly where my voice is. So yesterday was kind of a disturbing afternoon. And obviously, if you're following the news, Washington State is kind of having a bad week, you know, because of those 3 little girls that got murdered by their dad, and then he took off, and they're looking for him. So the town they were from, Wenatchee, Washington, is where my husband was raised. He's from there. He used to hunt right there where that campground is, where the girls were found, and very familiar with that whole area, Icicle Creek and the campground, the 3 campgrounds on that road. And so that kind of, he doesn't, you know, obviously know the family. He's been gone from there since the late 80s. Obviously he still has some friends around there, but this family younger, and you know, but he doesn't know the Deckers or anything like that, but still hits home. It's your town you grew up in, you know. So that's been going on, and you know, of course we're discussing that all the time about where that guy is, and you know, how much of a survivalist he is, and so all that. But then yesterday, I love these cows. They're Highlands. Some of them, not all of them, but yesterday we were eating dinner. Actually, we just got done eating dinner, but we're still sitting there. And my husband has 3 children, and obviously at various times they've all lived in Washington as adults, because when he divorced his ex, she moved back up to basically Seattle, different towns up there. So at that time, his oldest son was like 17. He stayed in Colorado with his dad, and John and I were dating then. Not right then, but I mean within a year of him and his wife separating and starting a divorce. But the oldest one was 17. I think his daughter then, all his kids are 19 months apart, so 15, somewhere in there. And then his youngest son, that now lives in Grand Junction, was 13. So all teenagers, but 2 of them still in school. The oldest had graduated. So, but he stayed with his dad. The other 2 left with their mom. They really didn't have a choice when she left. So, and she moved back to Washington. That was in 2001. Because shortly after that is when 9/11 happened, and I met John at work. He had just started there a couple weeks before, but it was after his ex had left. So within a couple months, I think she left over the summer. So I don't really remember. But anyways, so and then we started dating in 2002. So, anyways, so after all the kids, at various times, except for his son Andrew, he stayed up in Washington, graduated from high school there. But when his daughter was like 16, she came and lived with us for her last year of high school. She wanted to finish in Colorado. And we had bought a house together at that point. We both sold the houses. He had to sell his for his divorce. I had been divorced a couple years and had bought a house, but turned around and sold that, and then we bought one together that had 4 bedrooms so that all his kids could come at various times. And Matt lived with us, the oldest one. So, but anyways, they at various times have gone to Seattle to live and work, and then come back to Colorado, all of them. And so at this point right now, his daughter is the only one that's in Washington. His oldest is the father of the new grandbaby, and he lives in Denver. And his youngest, his 2 boys, so the oldest is in Denver, the youngest is in Grand Junction, and has the 2 little guys that are 9 and 7. So we have 3 grandsons that are in Colorado. And then John's daughter has a daughter from her marriage that she's divorced, and that girl, his oldest grandchild, our oldest, is almost 15. She'll be 15 in August. So anyways, what happened yesterday, so the oldest moved up to Washington probably 15, 16 years ago, and he's now almost 40. So he had moved back up there after being in Colorado, and like I said, his kids every few years would go back and forth. Sometimes they'd live in Washington, sometimes they'd live in Colorado. Okay, so anyways, his son got a job in Kent, Washington at a warehouse, and he was an order puller. I'll turn this around for just a minute. He pulled orders in this warehouse, and over the course of a couple years, he became warehouse manager, and so he ran that place. About 8-9 years ago, there was an opening in the office, and his mom had quit a job or had gotten laid off or something. Anyways, he got his mom a job in the office, like accounts receivable, but over the years, she became office manager, and Matt had become warehouse manager. Well, Matt left that job in October of last year and moved to Denver. And they were expecting the baby, and him and his girlfriend had been together. So, and they're in the process of getting married, I think. But anyways, so he moves to Denver. Before he leaves, I don't know exactly how soon. Obviously, he's training somebody to be manager, but then they hired some new employees, and he hired this guy. And then, I guess he probably hired him over the summer, because over the course of a couple months, there were some issues with this guy. Probably should have been fired back then. But what happened, so when his son moves to Denver, somebody else there became office or warehouse manager, and then Matt leaves. So yesterday we get a call about what happened in Kent, Washington. You can look it up on the news. But a guy, disgruntled employee, got fired yesterday morning. And he left the building, and then he came back like 15 minutes later with a gun and a gas can. And at the time, I want to say there was the owner of the building, of the business, and it's a souvenir business for Washington, and like we have a bunch of stuff that we've gotten over the years, that discontinued stuff or stuff Matt's purchased to give us, coasters and all kinds of stuff about Seattle, the Space Needle, and Ferris wheel, the Puget Sound, magnets, and, all kinds. That's the kind of stuff this company sold and pulled, and that's what they pulled over. This huge warehouse, like, I don't know, 10 bins high of stuff, and little things, keychains and pins, and, nothing really big, I guess probably shirts and stuff. But anyways, they had an area in there that they had made like a showroom of stuff over the years and current inventory and stuff. And before Matt left, he had redone that, I guess, and kind of set that up. I think that was kind of a new addition. I had seen it, but I haven't been up there for a few years. But anyways, so this guy comes back with a gas can and a gun. I forgot that I didn't want to be on camera in case the voice part is off. But he comes in like there was an entrance to the warehouse that I imagine is coded. He probably still had the code. I mean, he was only gone like 10-15 minutes, what it sounds like. And this happened like at 10:20 or something like that in the morning yesterday. So he probably came to work and then got fired and then he left. And so anyways, comes back in. It comes in the employee entrance that goes into the warehouse area first, because that's where he worked. Maybe the office wasn't even unlocked. I don't know. I'm not sure. We haven't got all the details. But what basically happened is he came in, he smashed the glass display thing. I think he did that first. Of course, everybody then knows there's somebody in the building that's upset, and people are, I guess confronting him. But he basically told them to leave and call the police. And he proceeds to go into the warehouse. But before he did that, he walks into all the offices. John's ex is at her desk, and he tells her to leave, and he follows her down the corridor outside, and that's pretty intense when somebody with a gun is ordering you out of the building and walking behind you down a corridor. And I'm sure she thought the worst. And we haven't talked to her, but we've talked to the kids, obviously Matt, he's the one that told us. He called us first. But anyways, as he got everybody outside, he locked the door and went back into the warehouse, and he proceeded to start a couple fires with the gas can. So the warehouse is burning, smoke is billowing out, the cops have been called, the SWAT team shows up with cops. They try to enter the building and talk to the guy, and he's not, going to come around. They know he's got a gun. Somebody observes him with the gun at his side. That's how they word it. I'm sure more will come out today, but basically, they can't get him to respond or come out or give up or whatever, and so they leave the building because the building's on fire. The fire department can't even get in there. But at some point, shots were fired, and I've heard two different reports that obviously he was in the building with a gun, but that it was an officer-involved thing. Now, no officers are injured yet that they've said or passed away, but if that's the case, whatever. At some point, though, they sent in a drone, and the guy was deceased. So he's laying there with the gun and all that. So they don't say how he's deceased, but that all happened. So we get this call as we're just finishing dinner about that. Matt had known about it earlier. Obviously, his mom had called her kids, and she had to leave the building without her purse, her car keys, and all that. And of course, standing outside, and finally everybody gets sent home, but they can't go in the building. She had to call her daughter, who luckily lives in Washington still, but I think she's like 3 hours away. She's in the south end of the state, and she luckily had a set of car keys to her mom's car, so she could drive home and get her car home. She had no keys to her house, and so she had to have somebody basically break in, I think, for her. I'm not sure exactly what. She owns her house, so it's not an apartment or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, we haven't talked to her. John talked to both of his sons because, you know, obviously that's their mom. And this could have been so much worse because he could have shot everybody. And obviously, you know, John's son that worked there and actually hired the guy, you know, feels kind of responsible. And he says, man, if I'd have been there, it might have been a totally different thing because I'd have tried to get the gun. You know, this could have been super, super, super tragic. It's tragic enough, but at least none of the innocent people were killed or injured. And then I couldn't sleep last night. It was pouring rain, like hard rain hitting the window most of the night. And you can see how wet it is down here. I'm like 7 miles from my house because my friends live down here and they're 7 miles from our house. So anyways, so that was yesterday. And, you know, I've already checked the news today. All the reports were like 13 hours old. And nothing new that we didn't know last night, I'm sure. There's a thing called I Love Kent, talking about Kent, Washington. It's a thing I'm following. I Googled it and found it. Matt sent us some clips of when it first happened and the SWAT team was there. But, yeah, it's just what's going on. And then, you know, on Monday in Boulder, Colorado, we had that firebombing guy. Nobody was killed, but very injured. You know, some people have some severe injuries. But, you know, and it goes on all the time. But it's just been kind of one of them weeks, especially for Washington. And, I mean, what happened yesterday is very sad and tragic. What happened to those 3 little girls is beyond tragic. It's incomprehensible and unimaginable for what that mom is now going through, and has to for the rest of her life. I mean, I just can't believe that. I never had kids, and I can't believe that. I mean, you know, it's just, yeah, those beautiful little girls. So, you know, it's been kind of one of those weeks. And I actually, in my walkabout was talking about that yesterday. Some, not all the time, but some of my walkabout talk about video that I totally really deleted because the whole thing, I'm looking at the camera and walking and have the selfie stick, and I started and stopped the camera thinking that would help with the audio video being off, and it's not. So I don't know if I have to do an update to another update. I've updated my GoPro, so I don't know what's causing it. I've changed cases, thinking, well, one of the cases I used didn't have the microphone thing, and it was closed in. It's not the one I use underwater, but it didn't have the side slot for the microphone. But I'm not even using the microphone, and I've tried it that way too. I mean, I'm not using it right now, and I did use it yesterday, but that old video was like, every clip was, it just was too much. I tried to move the audio on the first one, and it was like 3 frames, 3 1/4 frames off, and then I got to the next one, and it wasn't that much. So then it's like, I'm not doing this. I had like 7 little clips for like a 14-minute video, because I kept starting and stopping the camera thinking that might help instead of doing a long form one. But anyways, I don't know if anybody knows. I don't know how many people see my videos, but at this point I haven't been very consistent. You know, the house is up for sale. We just got a lot going on, and I'm not even to 100 subscribers yet, and that's kind of depressing. You know, I'm trying to do, I watch Shoulda do this. I can't seem to figure out how to do a live that works. I did that first one, it was fine. I got quite a few subscribers from that. I'd love to do a live again, and I tried 2 other ones, and they just won't connect. I set it all up exactly the same way, and fine. You know, I can't do it the normal way that a lot of people can do with 1,000 subscribers. I have to do it kind of through the back door, and it's not working. I've deleted the apps, downloaded the apps, tried different apps for the live stream, and nothing's working. So it's very frustrating to me right now on YouTube, and you know, it's just plugging away. I'm not going to give up, but I'm not also going to have a lot of time. You know, we get moved, and that's going to take away. Summer, I've got camping trips. I'm going to record them, but until I figure out this audio and video issue, and I don't want to get another GoPro. You know, they're not cheap, and mine's only a couple years old. John has a brand new one. He bought one, but I don't really want to do that. I mean, I have all the accessories for this one, and you know, it's fine. I guess I could use my iPhone more, but I don't enjoy recording with that. It's just not how I like to record. So it's okay for shorts, little clips that I insert, but I like the camera. I've got 3 different tripods. I've got mics, and you know, I've got everything for it. So I think that a lot of that stuff would work. I need to look into that, but I really don't want to buy a brand new GoPro. And then what do I do with this one? You know, I've probably got every attachment that came for it. I've got head straps, chest thing, and again, maybe it all works, but I know when John got his new one, he had another one like mine, and he gave it to his son, I think, but he gave me all the stuff to it. That's how I have so much that I didn't already have, and because he couldn't use it, so it's obviously different. Anyways, this video's probably long enough for today, because I'm just going to go down to Grand Junction. It's Friday. I got to hit Sam's, pick up an order. I always do a drink order and cat food and stuff like that I haven't bring out to the truck. Then I park the truck and go in and get produce and all the little stuff. I started doing that during COVID, and it works. Well, during COVID I did everything, but I like to pick out my own produce and stuff. But just stock up on some stuff. Next Thursday or early Friday morning, we're going to have a family thing all weekend at the house, a camp out / Father's Day weekend. Taco bar Friday night. Saturday, I always say this wrong, charcuterie boards, and then Sunday is Father's Day brunch, and I'm not sure if they're leaving on Sunday or Monday, but anyways, yeah, so we got a big weekend plan, so I'm going to start getting some stuff from Sam's, and then my friend and I are going to Costco in Gibson, Colorado, which is halfway between us and Denver. We're going to do that on Wednesday, get the last of the stuff, so that's what I'm doing today. So anyways, I'll say bye for now, and have a good weekend. No more bad news.